Hello, it's David. I've got the STE on the bench today, and this is currently downgraded to its stock specification. It's only got a 68,000 in there and 4 megabytes of RAM. And I've been playing with Geneva. This is a cooperative multitasking environment as opposed to Mint, which is preemptive. I was hoping in general this would probably be more useful for my lower end systems. But even with the 4 megabytes in play, there's not a lot of memory spare. There's just over 2 megabytes, so half of the memory is taken up by the various extensions required for this particular enhancement to the operating system. But I think my performance issues are a thing of the past. Now, I've been sent a box by Exxos, and this isn't a present. This isn't a review copy. I actually won a raffle. This is my prize. You see, I entered the raffle at the most recent Cyberlegends meeting. Links somewhere this way. Which unfortunately I couldn't attend this year, but I wanted to help out, and so I put my name into the raffle, paid my money for the ticket, and I was the lucky winner. This is a Terriblefire TF536 STE version. So I believe it's actually called an STE536. This is Exxos's approved, licensed STE specific version of the TF536, and it is currently in pre-order at the moment over on the Exxos Store. If you're interested in one of these, I would very much recommend you get over there and register your interest, because the chances are there won't be a second batch of this unless demand is quite high. Exxos having a bad time at the moment. The new restriction, or the new regulations for shipping to the EU have hit him quite hard, so it's basically he's lost half of his market there. So do go over to the Exxos store and support him if you can, because his forum and the database that he maintains there is really second to none. And I would heartily recommend you give him your custom if you can. Unfortunately, if you are in an EU country, that currently means that you can't. I hope that gets resolved shortly, but yeah, another complication, unfortunately, of the political decisions of the recent decade. Anyway, this is a TF536 variant, and I intend to give this a go in the STE. But there's a problem. Now, I don't know how well that's going to come out, but unfortunately, because of a mistake at the circuit board manufacturing factory, they fitted the wrong buffer chips here. So these 4 little 8-bit buffers are not the appropriate chip. So I need to get those changed. And Exxos has kindly supplied me, I believe, the correct chips in here. I think they are the same ones that I use on the DFB1 and on my DSTB1. I've also got an IDE header supplied here. There looks like there's some alternative clips for the CPU, perhaps. Oh, maybe that's for, I'm not sure what that's for. I'll have to have a look. We've got a bulk decoupling capacitor there, and he's very kindly included a CF card adapter. I'll have to see if I've actually got a CF card to look into that, because I'm pretty much an SD card set up here. So whilst I would be tempted to plug this in and see if it works without changing these buffers, because it should in theory just mean that the alt RAM is not available, I don't know what those buffers are without doing a bit of research, and I wouldn't want to damage anything if, for example, the control lines are reversed, or there's something wired where it oughtn't be. So I think what I'll do is I'll whip those off forthwith. We'll get these soldered up, and then we can have a little bit of a play.
I'd like to thank this video's sponsor and the supplier of my project PCBs, PCBWay. PCBWay aren't just about PCBs either, although they are extremely good at that. They also offer component assembly, CNC machining, 3D printing, and a variety of other manufacturing services. They have a number of community-focused offerings too. The Shared Project Hub is an open platform for makers to share and exchange their ideas, and the PCBWay store is a great place to pick up assembled modules. I mean, who wouldn't want a musical Tesla coil? So many thanks again to PCBWay, and I recommend you have a look at some of the links included down below.
Okay, so I just had a little bit of a look on online, and these are the same VHC 245s, which look like on-semi parts, and they would seem to be conventional 245 buffer chips, which are bidirectional, but they're not automatically bidirectional. So what I mean by that is that the pin 1 tends to tell you, or needs to be set to the direction, whether it goes A side, B side, or B side to A side. So that, yeah, that direction needs to be set, and that won't work with this design, which assumes automatic direction selection, i.e. it's pulled up on one side and either side can pull down. This 030 is very tightly in here, goodness me. I'm taking this out just in case there's some heat damage to the chip, because obviously the hot air is coming in. I could just cover it up with foil or Kapton, but I prefer to have it taken out. It must just be the fact that I spent so much time changing chips out when I was doing my board development that I always thought they came out a little bit easier than this. You don't want to go too far and bend the legs. It'll be very gentle, twisty motion. There we go. You just have a little look down the rows of pins to make sure that nothing is askew, and that looks all in good order to me. Pop that to one side and hope I don't sit on it. Okay, so I don't think there's much more for me to say. I'm just going to captain that up and get blasting with hot air. It's going to get noisy, so I probably won't say much. I am going to hang on to those because actually they could be quite useful for me. I've got a project coming up where I could do with some standard 245s just to do a little bit of bus switching and level shifting, but they're only going to be one directional, so I can simply tie that direction pin, high or low as appropriate, high I think, and job will be a good one. So now I've got a choice of either fitting these buffers straight away, although I think might have to re-stick the board, turn it around a little bit, or I could plug this in and try it. But given I've taken the chip out, I don't really want to go in another iteration of in and out. It's going to be very tight to hand solder down in there with the chip in place without touching it. So I think what I will do is just bite the bullet and get on with resoldering the replacement chips. Let's do a bit of cleaning up first though. Just while I'm doing this, I'm having a quick look over the board. So what makes the STE536 special? Well, the most obvious thing is clearly that it doesn't have a DIP 64 socket on it. It's got this PLCC 64, what's the other one, DIP 60? Are they both 64 pins? I can't remember. But this has got the PLCC adapter here, and you can see it's got a ROM built into it. And by the way, that's a lovely bit of design there by Exxos. Look at that. The ROM socket fits almost perfectly in the space that the pins go for the PLCC adapter. Absolutely brilliant little bit of dual footprint use there, and that has allowed the board to be rotated slightly to fit into the space in the STE. So the big advantage of this one over the stock ST536 or even an Amiga 536 that's been ST adapted is that the case should close. This should fit within a buttoned up STE case, which which is a lovely little bit of a lovely little bonus, isn't it? I've just noticed, even with the Kapton tape there, the edge of that socket has just gone a little bit crinkly from the heat. Look at that, you see. I don't think that will have any effect on the on it working, but yeah, it's not magic. I think Gadget, is it Gadget UK? I think it's he that uses the uses kitchen foil to basically redistribute the heat elsewhere rather than the Kapton tape, which is kind of a barrier. I think this is actually a protective barrier there. I think it's to allow the keyboards to rest on that and actually provide a bit of downward pressure into the into the PLCC socket. That's yeah, that's what I think. Well, it's got the chamfered edge there. Anyway, we'll see when we get to that. But for now, I intend to use this as a prop to keep this a little bit more stable as I do the soldering. Perhaps there's a little bridge there. To be honest, they're actually looking pretty good. I don't actually see any problems. I'm just reflowing now for completeness. I don't see any bridges, but possibly a couple of the pins here on this side look a little bit dry. Very difficult to see on camera, but if we have any problems with one section, one byte range of the memory, then I'll know where to look. But the way this works, if it well, actually, I'm not sure. They could all be wired differently, but how I wire mine is that this is like 0 to 7, 8 to 15, 16 to 23, yeah, 24 to 31, or the other way around. But you don't have to do it like that. So what I mean by that is that, you know, if you've got bits 0 to 7 of the 32-bit bus, providing they all go into the same byte section on the actual memory chips, they can be in any order. So it doesn't have to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It can be, you know, 0, 7, 2, 5, 3, whatever's left. You know, it can be in any old order like that, but they do have to be in the same byte so they can be turned on and off all in one go. That's the point. And the bytes don't have to then be, you know, byte 0, byte 1, byte 2, byte 3. It could be 0, 2, 1, 3. Could do an ultrasonic cleaner, really. Okay, I'm going to be naughty. I'm very impatient. I actually have to come back. I run out of time for today, so I do actually have to come back tomorrow instead. But I want to test it quickly, just see whether we've got anywhere at all. So tops off the STE. I'm just powering it up here. We'll have a look, make sure that it boots up. There we go. Amigas. I don't have any power to the hard disk, so that's fine. Desktop come up. Yep. Okay, all right, power's off. We will take out this 68,000. Will we? Yep, there we go. Okay, and I've not RTF'd in any way, but I'm pretty sure I know how this works. This needs to go in like this. There should be a pin 1 marking, I'd imagine. Can't see a pin 1 marking, but I can't see how it goes in any other way. It should clear the floppy disk, and there's a little stand there for it to rest on a chip. So Let's give it a try. There we go, click. Yep, there's a nice positive contact there. Okay. Are we brave? Do we go for the smoke test? Yes, of course we go for the smoke test. Right, let's bring the capture screen up. I'm going to watch. There's a green light over here. You can't see it. It's just off screen here, which is corner of the keyboard. If that goes out quickly, I'll turn the power off. And we'll see what we get. Now, that's got an onboard ROM. I don't know whether I have to pull the ROM there. That's possible. I haven't read the manual. I expect I probably do. Anyway, let's try this. Okay, green light came on. White screen. Hey, STE536. Would you look at that? I really don't know if I have to take that ROM out. Maybe I should pull that ROM out. Let's do that, just in case. Just in case we've got a bus conflict going on there. Oh gosh, I don't have any time to test it any further. I'm going to have to come back tomorrow. But now I've got some hot anticipation. Let's try that again. I was booting Amigas, so I know it's definitely booting off this. It's definitely not the same thing. Bring the keyboard back in. My mouse hanging out the front. It's possible this actually will auto declare the. I should let that continue the test. It's possible this will actually auto declare the TT RAM. Let's do that. Let's boot that again. Is that going to auto detect? Oh, I probably have to go. Hold on. In fact, let's actually power up my hard disk. Cold boot. Checking CSA ROM done. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to let the ST RAM test complete. So this should be 4 megabytes. Got a full complement of sims in there. Yes, TT RAM. And okay, yeah, I'm not going to wait for that to complete. Not picking up the hard disk. I wonder if I don't have. Oh no, there it goes. I just saw a flash. Maybe. No. That's interesting. Maybe it's not compatible with my hard disk. This is the Pico HD. Let's hold down control and see if we can skip the loading of the hard disk. That does appear to freeze it up, doesn't it? Oh no, let's try it again. It just, sorry, don't know if you can see that. It might just be covered up by the capture that there's an LED flashing there, and then it freezes. Okay, let's unplug that. I don't have my external floppy disk out here to boot from that. Instead, I've only got this one here, which I think we'll probably try and load Frontier Bench actually, which might not be a bad thing. Clunk. Oh, disk drive noises. It's not Front Bench that tries to load, but Front Bench is on here. Does this tell me the memory? Oh, I've got a mess here. Desktop configuration. System free bytes is 71. You see this? 71 megabytes. So we've got a 64 megabyte STE536. Oh gosh, my wife's waiting for me and she's going to be very annoyed, but I have to just start Front Bench, don't I? I mean, it'd be very rude not to. That looks nice. Look at the frames go. Look at it go. I don't have any sound hooked up, I don't think. No, I can't see any sound capture set up. That looks nice. Up to 500 frames already. The stock stock STE will only do 850 something frames. So here we go. We haven't even landed on the planet and we've got to 800. This is always a telltale when you go past the clouds. Yeah, look at that. Lovely. 900 frames. Right. I can't. I really have to go. Let's look at it some more tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to try the hard disk again, this time with my ACSI to STM, and we'll see how we get on with that. So let's throw the switch. Okay, so a little green flash down there. This is the SD card that I've been using in my SCFM. It's the one I was playing with Geneva at the start of the video. Hopefully this still boots up. No, in fact it does seem to freeze things, doesn't it? The TF the STE536 comes with multiple ROM banks here. It's a 512K ROM, and the STE uses 256K ROMs normally. So there's two banks here. So I'm going to switch to the other bank and hope that we've got emutos on the other bank. Because if we have, it won't need the ICD driver potentially. Although maybe, I don't know if it's compatible with ICD partition tables. Okay, I saw activity. There's green flashing light. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Brilliant. So emutos is on the other one. It does work with the ICD image. Fantastic. So I wonder whether the ICD driver is simply not 030 compatible. That would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? So excellent. Here's my drives. Let's boot up and have a quick look. There's Geneva that I was working on before. We can check the memory now. I don't know how Alt-ROM compatible Geneva is actually. It's a good question. Terriblefire showed the memory. Well, that's interesting. Look, there we go. So we are up to, we've now got nearly 4 megabytes of free ST RAM, which implies that everything that was previously running in an ST RAM that was using up to 2 megabytes must now be sitting in TT RAM, which has, well, basically that's also pretty much free as well. So wow, we've got an absolute barn burner of a machine now, haven't we? Shame medium res is just so annoying. Not a big fan of it. Okay, what do we have on here that we can have a look at? Well, I suppose we ought to have a look at Genbench, haven't we? Although bear in mind this is now on a multitasking system. So let's set a reference. We'll choose a, let's get from so we're going to compare with an STE 2.0 TOS 2.06 8 megahertz. That is a suitable comparison, I think, and let's run all tests. Oh no, the window's behind it. I should have closed that window. That's not bad. That's pretty good. That's nice. Okay. Yeah, yes. That's hampered by that window behind it. Yeah, that's actually quite hampered. Look, 142. It's about 10 times slower than the rest. Integer divisions, 1720 something. No FPU. Ah, I need to get Anders Granlund's FPU emulator on this, don't I? The RAM access should be a bit faster because it'll be running from alt RAM, from high speed, effectively fast RAM, and it's got a data cache. Sorry, an instruction cache. I'll expect maybe 110%, something like that. 116, okay, that's not bad. ROM access, this should be a lot faster, maybe even like 400%, something like that, because this should now, it's still only a 16-bit ROM, I think, so maybe about, maybe still 400%. 485, there we go, wow, nearly 500%. Blitting, I don't think will be much affected. Yeah, 99, which is within experimental error the same, because it's just running the blitter. That was nice. VDI5. This is normally a good representation of what the actual processor can do. Yeah, 866. That's not bad. And all RAM will have nothing to compare against, but the absolute figure will be worth noting anyway. Okay, that's saying 847. That must be comparing against the speed of ST RAM, which is about 4 megabytes a second. So 8.5 times faster than ST RAM. So what's that going to be? 8.5. We're looking at 17 times 2, 30. Yeah, just shy of 40 megabytes per second. That's yeah, about 35 megabytes per second. Perhaps that's not bad, is it? Not bad. That's very good, isn't it? There we go. On 1.82, I think that's exactly the same as I get on DFB1. So there we go. Yeah, makes sense. It's a 50 megahertz 030. Some very nice figures there. I wonder if let's close that background window. Can we get that gem window? So that was 142%. Can we get that to a better number? To be honest, that's not that much difference. 196%. No, okay, that's interesting. And the dialog box? $620. Yeah, no, that's a bit better. Excellent. I mean, we can sit through Frontier, but we can do that a bit later on. Ah, Day of the Tentacle I've got on here. Here we go. I've got no sound. Nice vibrant colours. I'm just looking around to see if I can make the sound work quickly, but I don't think it's connected up. I can't hear that. I don't know how that's coming through. That may be too loud. If it is, I apologise. Okay, so attention turns back now to the bits and pieces that I neglected when I initially opened my package. So this is the 44-pin, what's it called? It's IDE, but the 2.5-inch drive size. I don't know what it's called. It's not mini IDE, is it? It's basically IDE, but it's just got 4 extra pins. This is the nice little fitting bracket that goes over the ROM chip and holds, lets the keyboard rest on it. But I will put that aside for now, as that's not as important. So there's an SD adapter going into a micro. So it's a micro SD card going into an SD adapter, going into a CF adapter, going into an IDE adapter, going on to a TF or STE536. Pin 1 is this dot down here. So that's the red going onto the cable on the red side there. I believe that's correct. So I'm very much hoping that pin 1 is down here, but I am seeing absolutely nothing in the way of markings on the board. But let's do a quick measurement to ground. So ground is this one here. Is there an easier ground point? One of these must be ground. Wait a minute, I'm not in. I wasn't in continuity mode. I think what like the second one in on here is ground. There we go. Okay, any of these test pads ground? That's ground. Okay, right. So I'm going to go from there. He says. So those two end ones there are ground. Does that mean that there's 5 volts here somewhere? That pin there, I believe, is 5 volts. Right, so I need to have a look at the IDE44 pinout. Okay, the 5 volt, i.e. motor supply, is at the very far end. That's pin 42. So pin 1 is down here at this end, which is, I believe, ultimately what we had hoped for in the first place. Makes kind of sense, doesn't it? So, like I say, I'm not expecting that to boot, but perhaps we can get HD driver to recognize something when we pop it back in the machine. Oh, and I found this 3M tape, which is double-sided tape, I believe, laying around. So I'm going to attempt to stick a little bit of that onto this insert. Not that it's really important. Okay, gibberish. Yep. Okay. You could almost make out some text there. $284 GB, but here, that is, I would wager, supposed to say, I don't know about this bit, but that looks very much like high speed. So HIGISQEED. I think we can work something out from this. Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick look at the ASCII table, and the difference between Q and P, lowercase q and P, is that Q is the odd number after P. So P is an even number and Q is the odd number. So the lower bit 1 is set. Same with I and H. I is the next one up, and the lower bit 1, or bit 0, I should say, is set. So that would say, well, perhaps there's a problem with bit 1, and it's always stuck high. The only problem with that, and actually virtually all of the other characters here are indeed all odd ASCII values, apart from the capital H. That is an even one, and I think actually maybe D, so I think that's an even one. So it's certainly not affecting all of them. Peculiar, but it does look like there may be a problem with basically bit 0. So I think it's time for a bit of a scrub. Potentially it is a problem still with the adapter, potentially it is a problem with the board, potentially it's a problem with the firmware, but I think the first port of call is to give the contacts a bit of a clean, in case it is simply we've got a bit of an intermittent contact on bit 1. Okay, so I've done 3 things. I've had this out and given it a good clean with the old contact cleaner here. I've removed the floppy disk and just laid it at the back here so that there's no pressure, horizontal pressure on the IDE cable there. And I've got the multimeter in place here to have a quick look at the voltages. Actually, you won't see that if I'm going to capture up, so that's a bit precarious, but okay, there we go. Right, so bit of a clean up. We've got the SD card back in there again. So that's my Falcon, a copy of my Falcon on there. Everything's nice and cleaned and reseated. Let's throw the switch. Okay, we've got our garble screen. 5.4.99. All right, it was 5.00 for a second. Oh, there we go. Absolutely bang on. So I don't have a problem with the voltage. That's being taken across the main motherboard filter cap. You could argue it could be a bit higher. Oh, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Ha 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 ha. C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. That is the correct configuration for my Falcon's SD card. I and J are the X2 drives for Mint. There we go. All right, so, well, it wasn't... Not sure what that was, what's caused that. That may be, yeah, I don't know. Maybe something requires the FPU. This is obviously rigged up for Falcon, so no surprise if something doesn't work yet. Oh no, no, there's something can't. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Right, sorry. So did not require. So it wasn't an issue with the voltage. I've lost my train of thought. Was not an issue with the voltage. Maybe it was just dirty contacts. Who knows how long I've had this thing laying around. Although we couldn't get to work with the other one, could we? Maybe it was the pressure, the horizontal pressure on there. That's possible. If I pop this back and the problems come back again, if that happens, then yeah, that might be a bit of an issue. We might have to take a chunk out of the side of the floppy disk, or I did have a Gotek in here, and I decided to actually revert back to the original drive. So, it'd be a bit of a shame if that were an issue. Otherwise, perhaps we can do some jiggery pokery with the actual IDE slot there. But look at this, beautiful. I'm getting carried away. Why don't we switch back to TOS? I've got a feeling perhaps there was some byte swapping going on there automatically because of EmuTOS supports that sort of thing. Can I get the keyboard back into place? Now, how is this going to fit in here? If we lay this kind of flat, maybe what if I tuck it in that way? Because I suppose I don't need the ROM switcher if I'm using this, and of course it's probably designed for someone who doesn't have a ROM switcher in place, so this may not fit. The keyboard may not fit with my ROM switcher in place, and because of the way the keyboard is, there's some chips. You can't see it. There's some chips over here, so coming this way, maybe that would work, but I might need to do some insulation if I were to lay it in that direction. Is that my... No. No, that's not going to work. I think we've got to go... Well, that kind of works, I think. Okay, there we go. Just covered up most of the exposed parts. I don't know, maybe that feels okay. That's actually better. Okay, so we're booting up with TOS again now. And we're going to see whether there is actually... Ah, look at that, it auto-booted. Perfect. Oh. That's interesting, something's not happy. Pretty sure that works in EmuTOS. So maybe that's COPS again. Maybe the FPMU is not actually the silver bullet that I hoped. Let's disable COPS again. I do have plain X control on here, but X control, there are lots of different versions of X control, and they seem to misbehave on... Oh, there we go. They seem to misbehave in different eras. Different versions will seem to misbehave for different things. Right, this is not promising. I'm holding down control now at boot to just go straight to the desktop. Right, and I think we'll disable the auto folder as well. Whoa. Maybe this is a keyboard problem. Maybe me having that stretched across there is actually shorting on something. Let's take the keyboard out. It feels like we're issuing reboots or something. No, it doesn't seem to be. How peculiar. Right, well, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I think we're going to have to draw a line under part 1 there and make this a two-parter. This is just going on and on and on. Full disclosure, this video was intended to come out mid-January 2025, and I previewed it on my Blue Sky feed. By the way, give me a follow on there, please. This was a real problem. I went on to investigate this. Exxos had to do a bit of work. We think we know what the issue is. That's all for part 2, but it took weeks and weeks and weeks to get that sorted out. So there's a massive delay. Not going to mess around any longer. Let's break this into 2. We'll come back in part 2 and look at sorting this problem out. You've seen that there's a great amount of potential with this this setup, but it is very much in beta phase, and genuine problems have been picked up. The IDE, for some reason, the IDE access triggers it, but even without the IDE, we found it was failing soak tests. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Please do stick with me for part 2, where hopefully we can get to the bottom of the problems here and actually look at what this is capable of when it's all stable, and maybe we'll try a few games as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.